Hi, you're with Peter Carr and Oliver Di Nicolai on LonghausTV. Well, Ollie, there's been a lot of conversations, talk about government in the media lately. Some for interesting reasons, some for not. I think when we look at the IT industry and think about the IT industry, it's very interesting because Western Australian Government has been doing some great stuff about a new shared services delivery model and actually kicking some goals. We've seen New South Wales release an IT strategy and that kind of being warmly welcomed for the first time in how long, maybe a decade. Victoria Government initially releasing a draft last year and coming out with a new ICT strategy, and then we have Queensland.
Waiting for an agenda.
And look,
waiting for an audit.
It is, if we look at the Australian economy, IT is obviously considered to be a productivity driver of the economy. But if we look at Queensland, the government here effectively went into caretaker mode in Christmas 2011.
Yeah.
With the election in March 2012. Since that time, there's been little to no activity or direction, more importantly, from an IT perspective from the Queensland Government. And this is a bit of a bugbear now. We're in March 2013, so we're 12 months past the election, where you could argue 15 months past when the government went into caretaker mode. There has been a draft audit published, presumably gone to the minister late last year.
Hang on, does it mean it has been published or it hasn't been published? It's just gone to the minister. I don't think it's been published, is that right?
Well, it's been undertaken. I mean, the fact is, if it was started in April, finished in October, thereabouts, let's say it went to the minister in December.
Yep.
It's been sitting there, close to 3 months now without any direction, and that's just an audit. So I think about the clients we work with in terms of the process of strategy development. The audit is the right approach up front, but the audit shouldn't take 12 months because what we're going to be faced with is recommendations or decisions to come out of that audit, which themselves will take time to ramp up. So, if IT is such a driver of productivity, yes, the Queensland Government had to take a stopgap, take its own pulse when it came to IT. The results haven't been fantastic, but all the other states are quickly moving ahead of Queensland now, and that's, I think, having real ramifications beyond the government, also to the industry that services it.
Industry itself, associations have done their own surveys of their clients within those associations and have discovered that some of these clients are thinking about moving away from Queensland, moving to the southern states to do their work and get customers. Government's such an important part of the industry.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point as well, because you look at, say, New South Wales and Victoria as an example. Both of them have produced their strategies. Both have elements of cloud computing in them, but we have, Victoria, which doesn't have a lot of technology vendors themselves, setting up shop inside Victoria. New South Wales is still very much the economic development attraction hub for Australia when it comes to IT. A lot of data centre activity going on in that space. What is the future for Queensland? What is the future for Queensland ICT? Given we've already had 15 months of stasis, the economy's kind of in the doldrums anyway. What kind of a message, are we sending for how important this is? And more importantly, what about the ecosystem that supports government? When government's actually ready to turn things back on,
it might not be there.
It may not be there.
Yeah. So, it must be frustrating for agencies as well within government that they've got projects on that they want to get going, and they're waiting for the results of the audit. They're waiting for a strategy across government, and yet they've just got to sit there and hold their hands.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I think policy aside and politics aside, a lot of agencies were doing a lot of good things, and those things have largely stopped.
Yes.
And so typically what we would find in a public sector environment, if those things are stopped for too long, then the desire for the people making decisions to go back and revisit the basis on which those decisions were made in that process. So we could see, even if tomorrow they release the audit and next week the new minister in Queensland announces the strategic plan or agenda or roadmap or something, we could feasibly find ourselves in a 12-month period of planning again, before any real activity happens. Here's the other thing, like you mentioned the associations, right? What have the associations really been doing in Queensland for the IT industry since the government shut down in December 2011? Can you name anything?
Only that the fact that they're worried. There's a sense there that they're worried about their own constituents.
But as advocates, what are they doing about that? You know, this was always the challenge I had with associations in Queensland, is that they were so closely coupled, so closely aligned with the government.
They're marking in step.
I actually commented a couple of times that I actually felt like the associations were serving the government, not the constituency for which they represented. You look at the AIIA in the Queensland branch since 2011, they're onto their third president, whatever they call them. The ACS is naturally quiet, you know, they kind of burrow away inside caves somewhere. You know, other local industries, you know, software, there's not a lot of support amongst some of the big...
Or energy.
Energy, yeah. Yeah, certainly energy amongst these associations. No, I'm not seeing any groundswell whatsoever. And this is, I don't know, it's frustrating, isn't it? It's challenging.
Is it the fact that government's not doing it that's created a stasis within the associations? Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, the associations are still getting paid, right? You know, I bet you they're still collecting dollars from their membership. The question is, what are they doing? So there's a couple of points of accountability here, which I think is really setting Queensland back potentially a number of years. We need some action, and we need some action very quickly if this thing's going to turn around.